I got a YouTube video recommendation yesterday. It was Metallica. That was AI reimagined as Metallica. It was a reggae band. Metallica is a reggae band. What? It was awesome. Oh my god, it's so good. My buddy's in a reggae band. He's a drummer. He's in a big town reggae band. I sent it to him. He's like, this is incredible. Metallica. AI generated Metallica songs in reggae, and it is incredible.
Reggae's kind of Metallica's a concert.
It was so good. It was crazy.
All right, we might as well get this thing rolling. We may have a couple of stragglers from wandering in, but
Yeah.
just call them out when they show up late.
Okay.
Yeah.
Push-ups?
Put them on the spot. Yeah.
Push-ups. Okay.
So, for anybody who's not been here before, we basically do a veteran story night. It's basically just how it was, what happened, how is it now, kind of thing. In my experience, being on this side of recovery from PTS, the only thing I found that works really connecting with people is hearing a story and picking out the similarities in that story and not the differences, right? Because we can all pick out, like, that's not me, that's not me. We all do it. If you can find the similarities, start connecting the dots, be like, hey, maybe there's a shot for me too. We all think we're special and that shit won't work for us. That's just part of the sickness, right? Part of our crazy. So, Seth, we'll let you take it away, brother.
Okay. Thank you to all for being here. Thank you, Jared and Zero Dark 30 Coffee, for the invite. Thank you, Samantha and Fireside Pine, for having me here. I really appreciate it. My name is Seth Munsey. I'm going to probably lean to the side so I don't lean back and go through this thing. I already sit down. I'm like, whoa, I'm going to lean to the side or forward. My name is Seth Munsey. Again, it's really an honor to be here amongst all of you. And, you know, when I think about when Jerry asked me to share tonight, I felt honored. I'm an advocate. I feel for mental health for veterans and first responders, as I am one, as it sounds like through all of our stories are right tonight. Most of you all of you are as well. And I was thinking about it. I shared this on social media a couple of times. Warrior Night. Hey, if anyone wants to come, I've only lived here 2 years, but I got some friends in town. And no, I don't want to hear tonight. And that's okay. And I didn't expect them to be here, but I was talking to my wife earlier, and she's like, "So did anyone respond? And when your friend's gonna come?" I said, "No, I don't expect them to," and then that's okay, because it's hard. It's hard to hear these things. I posted on social media years ago. I remember I posted this. I said, I've got a lot of people that would love to go to an action movie with me, or a war movie, to some crazy movie where people are dying and there's blood all over the place. And they probably love that movie and ask me how it was, but they never want to hear any of my stories. They never want to hear my traumas. They never want to hear all the things that I've seen, all the smells that I've smelled, right? And that's okay. I don't expect them to. It's hard to relate when it's that real, but it sounds like all of us in here can relate in some way to that. A little bit about me before I really get started. I'm just turned 44 recently, about a week ago. My wife and I have been together since 2020. Married almost 20 years in October. I have 2 daughters, 15 and 13. And just, we really love being here. We love this community. We love being a part of it, and really felt like it was the place that we want to be the last 2 years. May 10th, 2020, it was Mother's Day, right? It was right in the middle of COVID, everyone's staying inside. That's first start of COVID, we're all staying inside. Not sure what we're supposed to do. We're staying with my in-laws for a little while at that point. And Mother's Day, we were celebrating not only my wife, but my mother-in-law, Leslie. She was 56 years old, and we just had a great time. She was less than an incredible mother-in-law, incredible mother, grandmother, super healthy, we just had a wonderful day. That night, go to bed, wake up 6 in the morning, my father-in-law comes barging in the room in his underwear, just underwear. I wake up, he says, Seth, come here, something's wrong with Leslie. I jump out of bed, I go running upstairs, her room is upstairs. As soon as I see her, I know she's gone. We're calling 911, I pull her off the bed, I start CPR. I've done CPR, gosh, I don't even know how many times. Never thought I'd even done CPR on one of my best friends. My mother-in-law, 56 years old. That was very traumatic. As it would be expected. Very traumatic for all of us. Found out later she died of a blood clot. I had no idea. Took her to sleep. But as the day progressed and as those days progressed, there was a lot of, obviously, grief, sadness, crying, everyone supporting each other. I did CPR on my mother-in-law, and I was supporting everyone else, and no one was asking me how I was doing. I didn't expect them to. It's my mother-in-law. We've been together for a long time. I've been part of the family for a long time, but I was holding it in really well. Like I was obviously grieving inside, but if you looked from the outside, I wasn't, because as I half joke with my therapist is I specialize in trauma. That's like my specialty. So no one asked how I was doing because I looked like I was doing okay, but I wasn't. And when I think about how I responded to Leslie's passing and to what I had to do, I thought about it. And I thought about going all the way back to how did all this start? Well, I grew up in a very religious family. My parents, I feel like they should have had tattooed on their body the quote, spare the rod, spoil the child. I don't know if you ever heard that quote from the Bible. My mom said it all the time. So we were abused all the time. My brother is 2 years younger than I, my sister who's 6 years younger than I. And we were abused in the name of religion. We were spanked every day. We were beat, slapped across the face. We were never good kids, even though we were incredible. I feel like we were incredible kids. We didn't get in trouble. But I was always in trouble. And so I learned at that young age to shove it down, to hide my emotions, because we also had to go to church. My uncle was the pastor of the church. And so when we showed up, we had to be wearing our Sunday best. We had to look like everything was just a-okay. We were just like the perfect family. But really, we were being abused all the time. And I'll wait till Tom gets in here. And that's how the story went.
Good job.
Alright, so growing up, in that household and being abused all the time and not really knowing why, but knowing that I had to shove it down. And so I get out of, I graduated high school at 17, and my father, who is my adopted father, he said, well, you're almost 18 now, you just graduated high school, and where are you gonna go live? I was like, I'm sorry? We had never talked to me about college or anything. He just said, well, now you're a man, you gotta go figure out life. And I thought, okay, well, I'm gonna go figure out life. And I almost joined the Marine Corps. It was 1999. I had done a thing when I was growing up called the Young Marines of the Marine Corps League. I did that for many years. So I thought I'll join the Marine Corps. Had a couple friends join the Marine Corps. And I was out I grew up in Southern California, Orange County, on the beach, and I felt blessed to grow up there. And I was out surfing, trying to figure out my life, what I was gonna do next. next to a Coast Guard boat, and a Coast Guard helicopter went by, flying by, doing an op. I thought, that is cool as shit. Like, I gotta figure that, I gotta go and talk to the recruiter. When I talked to the recruiter, I was on my way to boot camp 2 weeks after I turned 18. Surprise, Coastie. So that was 99, September 99. I left for the Coast Guard boot camp, Cape May, New Jersey. And you know, boot camp's hard, but when you grow up, you know, with parents that are beating you all the time, company commanders, drill instructors, you know, all of them are all the same. You know, we were able to deal with it. So after boot camp, I get stationed at a small boat station in San Francisco. We're about a 30-person unit, part of transportation, had all the leftover stuff from the Marine Corps and the Navy. We had like nothing good at that point. So I get to the station, I'm fresh, still just barely 18. And 3 days after I get there, we get a call, personal water, jumper off the bridge. So 3 days after I got to the station, just right after I pulled my first bridge jumper out of the San Francisco Bay. I can still remember what she looks like. I had many of them, I can still remember the first. I can remember a few of them, I still remember what she looked like. I still remember the hair, just floating on top, she was face down, floating on top of the water. Still remember coming alongside her, pulling her in. We had nowhere to take her, except for back to the Coast Guard station. So took her back to the Coast Guard station, laid her out on the dock, put a tarp over her until the coroner got there a few hours later. We had to continue our work that day, just kind of had to walk around her. And I think about it, and I think that, you know, there was no tears, as most of us in all of our professions, you know. There's no tears. We just had to keep doing what we had to do. I looked around and I thought, man, what are my shipmates doing? Telling jokes, okay? I guess it's joke time now, right? There's a great quote I love. It says, they tried to bury us, they didn't know we were seeds. That's been very impactful for me, a very impactful quote. I love quotes, I'll probably say a few more tonight. So we buried them. Didn't know they were seeds. Didn't know they were gonna one day sprout, what they were gonna turn into, but we just buried them. We were a busy Coast Guard station. Arguably, we would all say that we were the busiest station in the Coast Guard. There's a lot of stuff that happens in San Francisco. Probably the funniest thing ever went on was Y2K, right when I got there. We thought the bridge was gonna blow up, turned into nothing. But there's a lot of death and destruction in San Francisco Bay, a lot of homicides. It's a burial ground for murder victims, unfortunately, bridge jumpers. And we just had to keep burying it. We just had to keep pushing everything down, not knowing what it was going to turn into. We had a call one time. We got called out, so we were looking for a lady who was on the news. Her story was on the news, and they thought that she was somewhere around the east side of the bay. And so we went out looking for a lady named Lacey Peterson. You never heard of the Lacey Peterson case? Lacey Scott Peterson. So we were out there looking for her, doing search patterns, known as a national story. Still, we weren't telling jokes about that, but we were just, I still remember, there's probably points in all of our careers where we realized, I'm fucked up right now. I'm fucked up. Just because I can see all this stuff, and I can do all this stuff, and I can do it, not necessarily with a smile, but, you know, I'm gonna be able to go home after this and do whatever I need to do today. And I started to realize that there was something brewing inside me, and I wasn't sure what it was, and I wasn't sure how to handle it. I had no idea. There was at that point, both in the military and definitely in the fire and EMS and police side, because I did that as well. There wasn't a lot of resources or conversations. We didn't do debriefs after we picked a dead body out of the water, or we didn't do debriefs after there was any traumatic event. No training, no, hey, how you doing? We just buried it. I buried it. I didn't know they were seeds. So I got out, well, before I got out, woke up one morning to my phone ringing. I had been off that day. My phone was ringing, and it was my now wife's roommate. And she called me and she said, Seth, we're under attack. I'm like, what? She goes, yeah, the country's under attack. Someone attacked the World Trade Center. I was like, okay. I don't have a TV in my place right now, so I need to figure out what's going on. I knew a phone call was going to come my way, but I don't have a TV, so I drove from Richmond up to my wife's college, Sonoma State, an hour and 20 minutes, knowing a call was going to come at any moment to tell me to go back, but I needed to watch the news. So as soon as I drove up there, my BM2 called me and said, hey, get back down here. We don't know how long we're going to be here. You got to get underway as fast as you can. So went down, got to the Coast Guard station. It was crazy. I left the day before, and there was a gate to get out to the station, or a small station on an island right underneath the Oakland Bay Bridge.
Treasure Island.
Yeah, Treasure Island and Yerba Buena Island is like the main island you drive through. And so there was a gate, and you would just, I mean, it was very easy to get in. You kind of just push a button, and like hold up your ID to the camera, and it was on watch. Come on in. Right, gate would open. So the 10th, when I left, that's the way it was. I got there the 11th, and I mean, my buddies were out there with M16s, like searching my car, as I would expect them to, right? So we got out there, we got on the boats, and we went into port starboard duty, where we usually ran like a firehouse, where we run 48 hours on, 48 hours off, 72 hours on, 72 hours off. Now we were doing 12 hours out, 12 hours back at the station. As soon as we got back from 12 hours out, the next crew would be there, gas up, they would get underway for 12 hours, we would rest, ready to go if we needed to, and we just alternated like that 24 hours a day for as long as I can remember. We were stopping every single boat with M16s, and they said these shotguns are 9mm Berettas just drawn, thinking any boat could blow up. They told us, obviously shit's hot right now. We have a lot of high value targets, a lot of critical infrastructure here in the Bay Area. Anything is a target. So we need to stop boats with extreme caution. So we stopped every boat. They stopped the traffic from all the container ships from coming underneath the Golden Gate Bridge. We were doing security perimeters around, we had Oakland Airport, we had San Francisco Airport, we had Alcatraz, all the bridges, we had shipping channels. There was so much area responsibility for 30 people, like 30-person unit. Now SFPD had a Marine unit that got out there, Oakland PD had a Marine unit that got out there, and then some of the counties had some sheriff boats that they got out there in the water as well. But they told us that the terrorists were watching us, they knew who we were, they were casing us, and that we had to always use extreme caution. We weren't allowed to leave the base wearing anything that identified us as being in the military or being in the Coast Guard. But they said that we needed to we needed to go by every critical infrastructure in the entire Bay Area twice a day, random times, minimum of twice a day, because they said that the terrorists were watching it, and if they saw a law enforcement presence there more than a few times, they would choose a different target. So we did that for probably a year and a half or 2 years. Lots of stories. We all have stories, right? We all have the things that happen that we could go on forever about. But that was very impactful for me because I was probably on my way to do 20 years in the Coast Guard. I loved the Coast Guard. But something that happened there was when I got there, I was an E3 seaman. And at that point, you could strike your rate. So you could strike the next rate up. So I was striking bosuny. Well, when 9/11 happens, there's no time for qualifications to happen. There's no time to go and, hey, let's go down and, get you qualified on this. No, we were out every single day. So I never made E4. I stayed there because we had a job to do. We had to we didn't know. Looking back, we don't know if we ever, anyone, you know, chose to not choose a target because of us being out there. But at that point, it was like, we're out here. This is what we need to do. And I wasn't going to go anywhere else. I wasn't going to go and say, well, I'm gonna make rake and then go on a buoy tender and scrape muscles off the side of our buoy, coming from a search and rescue and federal law enforcement unit. You know, that was not my idea of what I wanted to do. So I decided to do what like 90% of like 20 to 25-year-olds wanted to do at that point. They wanted to join the fire department after 9/11. So I got out of the Coast Guard and got on an ambulance down in Southern California, Laguna Beach in Dana Point, California. Worked on an ambulance doing 911 and worked for Orange County Fire Authority as a reserve firefighter. And I did that for many years. And then I tested for fire. Tested for fire all over. Me and like 50,000 other people applying for like 5 jobs. You show up for a lot, you drive all the way out to Las Vegas, you're like, yeah, I'm testing for Las Vegas. You look around, you're like, there's 20,000 other people here testing for Las Vegas. How many jobs they got? Like 6. Okay, so I ran in a box for many years. Laguna Beach is a very busy station, a lot of vehicle versus pedestrian, a lot of tourists, a lot of trauma. We all know trauma. We've all got those stories that we can see when we close our eyes and sometimes when our eyes are open. But I was able to do it because, like I said earlier, after my mother-in-law passed and doing secret on her, I specialize in trauma, like all of us here. And so I was, hello. Oh, you're okay. Okay. I don't know them, so I can't get the joke like I gave him.
Fair.
As soon as he walked in, I told him that's how the story ends. You're all welcome. And so I spent all those years on that box, running 911 calls, seeing things, doing things, going home to my family, not saying anything about what I was going through, what I was seeing. I remember this call. There was two big calls that were really impactful for me that kind of, I think, started changing kind of like how I saw things and how I processed things. One, we were on a really bad car accident. I got thrown like 65 feet. It was really bad. Lots of blood. It was crazy. About 2 hours later, I was at Long Beach Grand Prix with my in-laws and my wife, drinking beers, watching cars go around a racetrack, and I'm thinking, man, I was just like washing blood off my body like 2 hours ago, and now here I am watching a race, drinking a beer. This is kind of messed up. Like, how can I do this right now? And then finally, that one last call. It was a car accident, 6 in the morning. Car was driving through Laguna Canyon Road, and a small little Honda Civic, and lost control, went passenger side sideways into a box truck coming the other way. The car was about this wide, and there was nothing we could do. Jaws of life wasn't going to do anything at that point. So we're all standing there. It was like early in the morning. There's a bunch of us, fire, EMS, these guys, police, and we're just talking about what we're going to do that day. And we're just, hey, what time are you off? Yeah, you got any big plans? No? How about you? We're gonna go do this, that. And I'm standing there, and I look over, and I just see the lady's arm, just from here to here, and then some long blonde hair, and that's all. That's all you can see out of the car. I still remember looking at that and go, I'm fucked up. Like, how am I sitting here right now, having a conversation about what I'm gonna do today, and all that, and what turns out to be a 16-year-old girl driving home to try to get home. She fell asleep at her friend's house trying to go home before her dad woke up and she was gone. That really impacted me. But the thing is, it made me start to process things differently, but I didn't know I had PTSD at that point. Like, because again, fire, EMS, military, they didn't talk about that at that time. That was still like 2003, 2004, 2005. So there wasn't really resources. We didn't go back to the ambulance, the headquarters and debrief any of that. We didn't even debrief it with our partners. It was just kind of like, all right, well, you guys have a good day. I'll see you in 40 hours when we're back for our next shift. Many years later, I got off, I changed careers. I loved what I did. I felt like I was really good at it. I specialized in trauma. And, but I just wasn't sleeping. And I was sick all the time. I thought, man, I gotta change what I'm doing. So I used the GI Bill and went in strength conditioning, and I went a whole different route after that. And it was really hard to be, I'm sure some of you may have gone back to college, maybe late or after those careers. And then here I'm like working, I'm studying alongside 18 and 19-year-olds, and they're complaining about this and that. And I can see the victims of, homicides and stuff when I close my eyes, and they're stressed about what they're stressed about. And so it was hard to kind of relate to them, as I'm sure all of you can relate. But I started noticing like I would go to the therapist because I was having just like some issues. And I was just like more stressed than I felt like I should be. Still, I had no idea. Like I said earlier, they tried to bury us, they didn't know we were seeds. We were burying them. I was burying everything. And I started putting it as like, oh, this is, I'm just overstressed with my work, like my school studies, and, it's hard to relate to people. I never really still attributed it to anything that I've been through from childhood all the way up to that point. So that point, I feel like, at that point, I was already getting abused by my parents when I was a youngin'. And so at that point, I'd been like 26, 27 years of trauma. And when we moved up to Northern California to be near my in-laws. And I opened up a gym there, and I was running my gym, and I was doing good. And then one day I'm with my assistant coach, and there was no one at the gym, and we're just sitting there talking, and then all of a sudden I feel my heart go boom, 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 boom. And I don't know, we're just talking. I wasn't stressed by anything, I just felt it. And all of a sudden, like, everything started like caving in. My coach, she's like, Seth, are you okay? You're turning white. I'm like, I don't know, something's happening. I like start to not be able to breathe. And I'm like, I go and I lay down, and I'm thinking the end is near. So she calls 911, box comes, they throw me in the back of the ambulance, take me code 3 to the hospital. I'm thinking, man, I'm having like a heart attack, something is going on. They keep me overnight, run a bunch of tests, and they're like, no, you don't really see anything with your heart. I was like, well, that's crazy. I said, yeah, my heart did this whole thing. And they're like, yeah, we don't know. We have to get some more testing. I was like, okay. Well, the next day, started feeling some stuff, and I was just like, my heart started like bouncing all around, and I'm like, oh my God, I have a heart issue. I'm like, only in my 30s. What's going on? And I'm like looking up stuff on like heart issues, people in their 30s, still not sleeping well at night, still doing all the things, and still feeling all the stress. And that went on for a while. I say a while, it felt like forever, but it was probably only like a month, where I just was feeling all this stuff all the time. I went to the hospital like 4 times thinking I was dying. And I really felt like I was dying. And every single time the doctors were like, no, your heart's doing good, man. Your heart's doing good. So for my birthday, my wife got tickets. I was an Angels fan growing up, so they were playing the A's. So we drove up about 2.5 hours, went to the game, we had our kids with us. Driving home, we're out in the middle of nowhere, and I start feeling my heart, boom, 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 boom. And I'm like, oh God, this is a heart issue. So I like happen to pull up my phone and I type in like heart something. I can't remember exactly what I typed in, but a YouTube video popped up where a lady was talking about her panic attacks and what they felt like. And I still remember watching this video and telling my wife, I might have panic disorder. This might be a panic attack. It may not be a heart issue. I still remember telling her that. And she's like, really? I was like, everything she's saying, like, I'm going through. Now, you know, all those years in the ambulance, I took a lot of people to the hospital with panic attacks, anxiety attacks. That was never me. I was like, those are crazy people. Those are crazy people. No, that's not me. I can handle my stuff. I'm strong. Like something happens, I'm gonna run out. People are like, yes, that's here. Like because we can do that, right? Because we buried all of our stuff and we're silent professionals and we show up and we get the work done and we do it again and again and again. And so to think that I had that was a panic attack, it was like, no, it sounds like it fits, but I just can't reconcile with that being real, that being true. But I said, fuck, I'm gonna go and talk to somebody and see. So I went and talked to a therapist. And it's funny, you know, like when us and the veterans and first responders, law enforcement, EMS, right, fire, whenever I was kind of finding talking to a therapist that doesn't really work with people that do what we do, you know? They're like, so what was like the traumatic event? And I'm like, what? I don't even got enough time to go through all of this. And I still remember he was like, so what was the and I'm like, well, if you're talking about things that I saw that was traumatic, this was before my mother-in-law passed. And I just listed off some stuff, and I mean, I think he's like a marriage and family therapist, because he was like looking at me, he's like, all right, like this is pretty heavy. And I'm like, really? It doesn't feel heavy. Because I just, like, to me, it's just stuff I just do. Like, it's just calls I show up to and memories I have. I'm not crying over it. And he goes, yeah, that's a problem, you're not crying over it. I was like, oh shit. He's like, it's kind of not normal that you can just talk about burnings on you and things and that, right? And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. It makes sense that this is not normal. And he goes, well, you have PTSD. You have pretty bad PTSD. And this is obviously panic attacks you're having and anxiety and all that. And I still remember telling him, I said, okay, so we put a name to it. This is not my identity, though. I still remember telling him, I said, this is not my identity. This is something I'm dealing with. It's a battle I'm facing that I'm going to fight through. I'm going to figure out how to fight through, but it's not going to be my identity because I'm not broken. And he was like, he agreed. He thought, that's great. And now that whole process to not make an identity was really hard, you know, and it's always something you're always still challenged and fighting through. But I really held on to that I was like, okay, this is not going to be my identity. I'm not going to be somebody that like lives with that is PTSD, that is panic attacks, that is anxiety, that is depression. I'm somebody that is battling through it, and I'm going to do the things that I need to battle through it. And trying to work really hard to not make it my identity, which again is very hard to not do that. It really, right from the beginning, I opened up just my mind to I was like, okay, I'm gonna start reading things, I'm gonna start going to therapy. I'm gonna start doing everything I need to do to not make this my identity, to not be somebody that lives with PTSD my whole life. Even though I am gonna have PTSD my whole life. Like but it's something that I can take action steps to try to process the things that I've seen, the things that has been a part of my story better than I knew how to process them before. Because I tell myself that the things that we went through, didn't know how to handle it then. It's hard to handle it now, but if I can give myself tools and at least try, then that's important. I'm sure there's a number of you in here that have ran out of a bunch of suicides. I've run out a bunch of them. I can't even count how many. And I still remember running on, not just suicides, but on calls, and again, I'm sure there's a lot of you can relate to this, that the real trauma almost doesn't come from the person that killed themselves, it comes from the family that's standing there screaming. Though that's the trauma to me, like that's what gets me, right? It's the family members. And seeing the pictures on the wall and stuff. And so I wanted to give myself tools so that wasn't my story. And it's some people that story that's the story that is written for them, and it's tragic. And I can't say that I haven't had times where I thought, man, it would be so much easier for my family not have to deal with all my shit. But I keep showing up. There's a quote I said at the beginning. I said I'm a quote person. I love quotes. There's a Joseph Campbell quote, philosopher Joseph Campbell, that I feel like I'm going to have tattooed on my body one day. And it says, "The cave you fear to enter holds the treasures you seek." That also was very impactful for me, because I decided that I'm going to go into dark caves, even if they're scary, even if that cave is me, and I'm going to go in it, and I'm going to try to find parts of me that need to be healed, that need to be cared for. I'm going to do that. And I had a therapist for a long time, like 2.5 years in Vegas, did the VA, and probably one of the most traumatic things I ever had in my life was moving up here, and I could no longer work with her as my therapist. Like, it was bad. It was bad. She was incredible. Trauma trained therapist. She lost family members in her life and stuff that she shared. So she was very, very good. But I still remember one time, it was, we were talking, we talked every Tuesday at 9. And even when I was gone and I was on the road for work and I was traveling, we do virtual video calls. And I was like, oh yeah, I would always say, "Katie, for your holds the treasures you seek." And there was something that I was not kind of like ready to dive into, and she's like, "Maybe this is the cave you fear to enter." And I was like, "You can't use that. I know that, okay? You got your own coach, you're the therapist, like use your own stuff. That's my material, Joseph Campbell's material." But yeah, I look back on my life, and it's crazy to think that, I mean, at 44, most of my life has been marked with trauma. Most of it. It's funny, trauma follows me wherever I go. Went out to see my grandfather years ago. My grandmother passed right after I got out of boot camp. So I went to go see my grandfather. My grandmother passed of cancer. My grandfather got cancer. He's like, "Seth, I'd love you to come out here and be with me my first day of chemo." I'm nervous about it. He's like, "Grandpa, we'll come out there and I'll be with you on your first day of chemo." Him and I are very close. I go out there, I fly all the way out to Indiana. We go to the outpatient chemo place. place. Sit down, they hook him up. I'm sitting there, probably like within 3 minutes, maybe less. All of a sudden, I'm just sitting there. I think I was actually looking at my phone, and his hand goes like, and he grabs me. And I look over, and he's like less than 0.01% of people who are allergic to that kind of chemo.
Shit.
I was like, trauma follows me, man. But you know what? I was blessed to be there because I recognized right away something was going on. He was having an anaphylactic response to it. I called the doctor's nurse over right away. He survived that. It passed many years ago, something else. But it's like trauma follows me, and so I accept that. I accept that if something happens, probably all of us are going to run out there and handle business because that's what we do, right? But I now think about how to take care of myself and take care of parts of me that are broken, but I'm not broken. There's just parts of me that are broken. And so that's really my identity, is that I'm not broken. I found this shirt in a coffee shop in Waco, Texas, Biddy and Bo's coffee shop. And I walked in, it's like one of the most incredible coffee shops you ever walk into. There's a couple of them, it's like a franchise. Because it's a coffee shop that is pretty much entirely staffed by employees that have mental and physical disabilities. There's only one person on staff that is kind of just there in case like they need to help out, but like the person making your coffee is Down syndrome, and they're the most delightful person to talk to ever, and they're just like, how's your day? And you're like, my day's awesome. And they're like, I made you this picture, and you're like, yeah. And they have these shirts, they're like, we're not broken. Like just because we have these physical or mental disabilities, we still have a lot of abilities. There's still a lot of abilities. And it's such a cool coffee shop. So I got a shirt, and I got a coffee cup, and it's my coffee cup that I've used forever. Now I use a Zero Dark 30 coffee cup. I love your coffee cup. But the reason I'm using this not broken, I'm not using this not broken. The reason I don't use the not broken coffee cup is one day it fell and broke right through the not broken, and they don't sell them anymore. So it sits on my counter though, because just like the piece like broke, but it sits on my counter at home with that piece stuck right there, and like you see like the cracks, like where it just like right through the not broken. And I think that's so cool though. Like it's, you know, because like it broke, but it wasn't like, it's still there. It's still reminding me, right? It's not broken. Like there's a piece that's chipped, but it's still there. And that's it. That I feel is now the identity I want. Are there days, are there moments, are there weeks, months, where I have to really fight to have that identity? Absolutely. My joke is that like the last time I had a really great night of sleep was about 2 days before I left for boot camp, 18. It's like, you know, that's how I feel. So even still, I still have lots of challenges all the time. All the time, things are I'm battling against. But another quote. It's funny. I didn't bring my coin. I have this coin with me, like literally every day, and I changed into these jeans at the last moment, and I was like, I walked out, and I was like, God dang it, I didn't bring my coin. But I have a coin that's Marcus Aurelius. If you ever heard of Marcus Aurelius, he's one of the good emperors. He didn't write a book called Meditations, but there's a book called Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. It was a journal. It was journals that he was leaving to himself, and when he died, they got these journals and they turned them into this book. But he was he was a good emperor, and he was a stoic. And there's a quote that he has in there, says, the obstacle is the way, the impediment to action is inaction, what stands in the way becomes the way. And that also was really impactful for me. It says, like, we do hard shit. We've done hard things all of our career. Like, we had hard childhoods, probably most of us in here, but we're still here, right? And I'm just somebody that does hard things, damn it. And y'all are too. Like, that's just who we are. We're people that do hard things. The obstacle's the way, right? And someone's got to do it. Someone's got to run out if something happens out there right now. All of us are going to run out there, and that's our lot in life. That's what we were destined to be, the people that do hard things. And so I take that now as, I don't want to go as far as saying kind of honor. It's just I take that to heart that, like when my mother-in-law passed and I had to do CPR, I never imagined breaking the ribs of my own mother-in-law at 56 years old. And I'm glad I was there. I'm glad it was me that did it. I'm glad that my wife wasn't doing it, or my father wasn't doing it. He faints at the sight of blood, which I think is just crazy. But he did. But hey, you know what? That's his thing, right? He can't look at blood, right? For some reason, I'm drawn to it. So that's where I have evolved now in my thinking. Is I think about all the things, all the trials that I went through, all the trauma, specializing trauma, all that, and I think that, you know what? There has to be a place for people like us, and the world needs people like us, and it messes us up. Sure does. Makes it hard on us, but that's the story that was written for my life. That's the story that was written for my life, and maybe I have a great relationship with my mother now, and my father, and my therapist. Not now, but a therapist in high school and college. That was crazy. I was still talking to my mom. But I look at all the abuse that I had from my parents, and now I think about it as it was training to help me be the person that does hard things. Because if I didn't have all that, I wouldn't have been able to pull my first bridge up out of the water and do the service to that young lady to recover her and bring her back. Wouldn't be able to do that with my mom or be the person that my grandfather. And that's the story. That's the story that I have for my life now, and that's how I frame it now. That I am just somebody that does hard things. And it helps me get by. Doesn't mean, again, I don't have the nightmares, and I don't have the lack of sleep, and I don't have the depression. I have it all. Still fight through it. I use tools now. I use quotes a lot of time, and books, and on stoicism, and other things, and great relationships, and talking with others, and having those great relationships with others that not are just like-minded, but our stories are adjacent. Our stories kind of flow together. Just same storylines in just different ways. Because that's how we got through it in the military, and on the ambulance, and the fire, and the squad car, right? Being around others who have gone through that. The warrior. Talk about warriors, right? I was honored to go to a weekend that was incredibly impactful, called Saber Warrior, that Jared, and Alex, and a few others have gone through here, and that was incredible for me. And Tom, sorry, I didn't mean to call you out on that, but
Sure, you kicked me out the door.
we were brothers. We went at the same time, and I took so much away from that, but really, to be in that brotherhood, and I say that because there was only men there for that one, but there's women. But to be with you like Tom and then be with Jared here and Alex and have these conversations and just know that we tracked along a similar paths, different paths, but trying to track that we're not alone. Because warriors back in the day, warriors stuck together. They got rid of their shit though. I don't want to say they got rid of it completely, but they had rituals and they had ways to process it that we don't. Right? Someone dies. Wow, we didn't even do it was COVID, so we didn't even do a funeral for my mother-in-law. Someone dies in another country, in some of these countries, and the entire town gets together and wails together for as they carry the body down the street, and they all wail and they all go through it together. Where we're kind of taught to just shut it all down. We didn't know they were seeds, right? We didn't know they were gonna sprout what they were gonna turn into. So at this point in my life, I share my story openly. Because I am in no way some huge success or anything. But I'm in a position in life, in my job and stuff, where I'm in stressful situations, and I speak on camera, and I do a lot of things in my job where people would never expect me to be someone that has panic attacks and PTSD and anxiety and depression and sleeps 2 hours a night, and right, because what do most people think, the stigma of mental health, and someone that has depression or has PTSD, they're in a dark room with a blanket over their head and TV illuminated room, For my work, I'm sometimes in charge of managing 3,000 people, and people they find out I have PTSD, or they're like, oh, wait, what? No freaking way. I'm like, yeah, you can have that story. You can have all sorts of struggle and strife and challenges and trauma in your life, and that doesn't mean that you're broken. It actually, I don't know, I can say it's a superpower, but it's it helps you do hard things. It helps you be that person that they're gonna call on, that they're gonna know that you're here. Thank God, and you're gonna be that person no matter what. But that's where I go with it, where I share my story. I want to share that. I want to help do my own little part of breaking stigma around mental health, and not just mental health, but the stigma around what people are capable of that battle through mental health challenges, that are on those journeys. It's oh shit, you can have a whole lot of challenges and own a really fucking cool coffee business, right? Because he's right? You can be successful, you can, whatever success looks like, whether it's owning a company or just being out there to help people or whatever that is, you can be somebody that just isn't that blanket over the head. Now, that is not in any way me saying that there's somebody out there and they're going a blanket. Hey, I've been there too. I've had that blanket over my head, right? But I just had to take the identity of I'm somebody that can be more than just this, even though I had all that. And there's not a lot. More so these days than years past. But there's still not a lot of people that are role model's not the right word, that are just that people can see as, okay, this is somebody that went through a whole lot of shit in life, and they're moving forward. They can still go through therapy, they can still all that, but and they go, hey, maybe I can too, maybe.
Inspiration.
There you go, thank you, inspiration, right? And so again, you know, specialize in trauma. I've got my story of the past, a story of the future is still to be written. And I guess even though the past has been rocky, that mountain is up and down, that freaking mountain all over that place. But there are tools, there are resources, there are incredible people, there are incredible organizations that are helping us write maybe the story that we never thought that we could write. Right? Like we never, like people going through this kind of this in the 80s and the 50s and the 20s and the 1800s, they didn't have therapists to go talk to. They didn't have Save a Warrior, they didn't have Warrior Story Night, they didn't have any of this, but we do now. And so having that inspiration, and so I want to thank you all for being here, for listening to my story. Like I said in the beginning, for those of you that didn't hear it yet, I said, shared that that I had shared this on Facebook a few times, and my wife had asked like, oh, are any of your friends coming? I said, no, I don't expect them to, and that's okay. I don't think anything of that for it, but what I said earlier is I said, a lot of my friends would love to go to a war movie with me, or some crazy action movie. There's a lot of death and a lot of trauma, and they would love that movie. They would love it, but they never want to spend 5 minutes hearing anything that happened to me. It's too personal. But I appreciate you all, and thank you all for coming tonight and listening to kind of my journey so far. Still a lot left for all of us. And yeah, I appreciate you again. Appreciate Samantha, Fireside Pine, Jared, Jess at Zero Dark 30, and Cal for Man in the booth back there. And thank you for Grandson University for being here. But supplying the Domino's. That's my daughter's favorite pizza. Domino's. They're gonna be so jealous. I'll have to take a slice home for them. Yeah. But yeah, thank you. Thank you. This has been, I enjoy sharing because I think it's important. And I'd love to, whenever you all feel open to sharing any of your stories, I'd love to sit and share and listen to yours as well, because we all can learn from each other and we can all grow from each other and alongside each other. And that's how the story went. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming in and being vulnerable in front of us people. This is the thing that works, man. Like, I'm telling you, of all the shit, the thing that kickstarts most of us is hearing somebody else that's been through the same kind of thing. It's like, holy shit, he's having panic attacks. That sounds kind of familiar. Shit. I went through the same thing. Couldn't figure out what it was. Doctors couldn't figure out what it was. Fucking panic attacks. Not to me. I don't have panic attacks. That's the people who don't have panic attacks, right? That kind of stuff kind of gets you to open your eyes a little bit and go, shit, maybe there's something to this. And then finding out how he's doing on the other side, right? Like, how's he combating all that now? How's the family doing? Like, you're married, you've been married a while, right? Yeah. Any of this affect your wife at all?
Yeah, absolutely. We've been married, we'll be 20 years in October. And my wife has been incredible through it. And she has been a rock alongside me. She was there back. She still tells this story where she still remembers me. I was working, so it was like not long after 9/11, and I went off to work, and I was supposed to be there for 48 hours, and it was like the first night, and I'm gonna say the song because it's kind of just like ironic, but it was like 2001, 2002. And so we had like the radio inside the boat. Do you remember the radios, the 41s, where we could get like some AM stations, right? And we're sitting there and it's like 2 in the morning and we're just like going in our 41-foot utility boat, going and getting past the San Francisco airport, past Oakland airport, and we're listening to Let the Bodies Hit the Floor. And it's like, and then it's like we get a call for like a jumper, and like it was like pretty traumatic. And so we go and pull her out and stuff. And so there was extra people at the station. And so the BM1 was like, hey, you guys just head back home. Like, you guys are good. We were only gonna, it was like a 12-hour shift. We weren't there for the whole time. So like I got back and so I got her in bed. It's like 3 in the morning and Tiffany's like, what are you doing here? You're supposed to be, I was like, oh, we just, it's kind of funny, we're listening to this, like, the Let the Bodies Hit the Floor song, and then some lady jumped and we had to pull her out of the water and stuff, and so if you want to just let us come home. I'm like, all right, good night. And she's like, what? You literally just did that, and now you're like crawling in bed next to me, and then like rolling over and going to sleep. But yeah, she's had to deal with that. And another thing that I didn't mention is my daughters. They know that daddy has PTSD. They know that I have panic attacks and I have anxiety and depression. I don't hide that from them. Did I? Oh yeah. Back in the day, I was like, oh, it's just my heart. They know I go through that because I want to try to be that, show them that, or be an example, be an inspiration that, girls, you're going to go through hard things in your life. There's going to be things that are traumatic that are going to happen to you, around you, like, and you're still going to be able to move forward. It's not going to be easy, but you're going to move forward. You're going to be able to, there's going to be tools and resources, there's going to be support. Like, you're not going to have to do this alone. And so, yeah, my family, they know, my kids know. That was a very long answer to yes.
Yeah, right.
I have kids.
No, that's good. That's good, man. Like, for real. That's the thing. Like, we need to recognize that it's not just us that go through PTSD. It's the family. Like, we try our damnedest not to bring it up. At least I did. Fucking brought it up anyway. Right? Like, I didn't tell her shit about any of the traumatic stuff I went through. Not at all. But she'd know fucking 3 o'clock in the morning, dad shows up and pulls the kid out of the crib and holds him for an hour. Yeah, some shit happened to dad today. Right? And then she carries that without us having any kind of conversation about it. That's the kind of shit that they go through. We don't recognize that's what's happening, and not talking about it makes it worse for them. The fact that we can air it out, have a conversation about it. The other thing is, like Seth was saying, we don't grieve shit. We stuff it down, because why? That's what we do. That's what warriors do, right? That's a society thing that we've brought on. That's not reality, right? You know where we end up when we don't fucking grieve shit? At retirement with a gun in our mouth.
Sucks starting a pistol.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, and the numbers are fucking climbing. That's why we do this. We gotta make it normal, man. Like, you're abnormal if none of the shit affected you from your career. You're fucking abnormal. The rest of us struggle with it. And it's okay, right? Just like the rest of us. It's not a bad thing. I just had to learn, and Seth probably can relate to this too, Tom, like, I had to learn tools to deal with this shit. First I had to own it, then I had to deal with it. And for most of us, it starts in childhood. For most of us, it starts in childhood. And that's how our brains develop, right? We're put in fight or flight really fucking early, and then we grow up really fast, right? We miss that childhood thing. Then we grow up really fast, and then we drive towards adrenaline and excitement and helping others, and we move into service work, and then we just start compounding trauma without dealing with any of it, even though stuff as a kid. And I realize now when we start dealing with it, more of it comes to the surface, right? Shit that I haven't thought about for years started popping up. Well, it's because I'm clearing out that box now, right? You gotta start dealing with some of that stuff, and it's okay. Didn't realize it was okay before, it's okay now. And I don't know about you, but after I went through SAW, before SAW I had migraines, high blood pressure, IBS, couldn't sleep. A myriad of freaking health issues. Right? After SAW, started working on my mental health, learned how to meditate. Right? I can calm down, get out of that fight or flight response, recognize my age, all that shit went away. Miraculous.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I feel better.
Oh, incredible. Yeah. So much better. I mean, you release so much there. And something else, I just did a 2-hour sound bath and somatic breathwork session the other night. I do that a couple times a year. And they asked if I would do like a little talk, like a little video clip afterwards, like an advertisement thing. And one thing that I shared was really impactful for me. I got this at SAW, but it really clicked for me when I was doing this somatic breathwork. Is that the lady that was doing the sound bath, a couple sessions previously, I was sitting there and she's like, if you all can lay, she goes, trauma, like negative energy and trauma, like all that, like goes out of the body, like through the feet and like the hands and stuff. And she's like, so if you can lay with your head facing me, because I don't want any of that stuff coming my way, right? And so I thought about it. I'm laying there and I'm doing the breath work. It's like you like get your hands and everything's buzzing and all that. But what I was thinking about as I was doing that, she's like, you're releasing all this energy, you know, of life and everything. And I thought about it, I'm like, holy shit. Like I spent most of my career, like absorbing traumatic energy from everyone else, from families that are crying and screaming for their dad, or from end of life energy. Like I just absorbed all of it, but I had no idea how to ever like release it myself. So like I was just carrying all this unprocessed energy. They didn't have something to talk about solid. They're like, you no one asked you to carry this this energy. No one asked you to carry this trauma. No one asked to carry this burden for them. Like they never asked me to carry all this trauma, but I was carrying all this trauma from everyone else. And so I was like trying to release it all, which was incredible. And then I created space to bring in my own like new energy. But yeah, I thought about that. I was like, we just absorb all this stuff from everyone else, and everyone has their own thoughts about energies or if that's real or not. But it's just like you're taking all this in from someone else, and you're not processing it, so you hold on to it, even if you don't realize you're holding on to it.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, he's a quote guy. I wear a medallion that Alex gave me when he got back from SAW. It says, you want to be the man you've never been, you got to do the things you never done.
Yep.
And so all that foo-foo crazy shit I swear I'd never do, like yoga and fucking meditate, and I'm doing all that shit now. Right? I want different results. Like my life was a fucking dumpster fire before I started getting help. I don't want to go back to that guy. Not the same guy. I don't want to go back to that guy. Can't thank you enough for coming in. This is not easy, but if we're gonna bust the stigma and lower the suicide number, this is how we do it, I think.
Yeah. Well, we need, and not that we force like our stories, our trauma on people that have never experienced, but if we really break the stigma, help break that stigma, it's the people, the warrior, the non-warriors, the people that weren't like us, that they go like, oh wow, this stuff actually affects you. Like we want to help kind of make sure that there are resources. And like I said, like it is so much better for me when I'm feeling a panic attack, instead of me going and running and like going in my room and like hiding and like taking some lorazepam and all that. Like, not that I don't take lorazepam on YouTube, chill you out. But instead of like me going like, oh my God, my daughters are here and I'm feeling like stress and stuff, for them to like recognize and come and give me a big hug and be like, I love you, Daddy, we're here for you. Like, holy crap. That is so much better. Like, they know that I'm going through something. And they know, I'm not sitting there telling them all the stories and stuff, but they just know Daddy's seen a lot. Daddy's done a lot in his life that have impacted him. And it is so much. To get hugs from my kids or my wife come and be like, hey, babe, I'm here, I love you. You're gonna make it through this and stuff. Rather than me having to hide it and pretend it doesn't exist, it is just, it goes from what used to be all the time and very long bouts to very short bouts and infrequent now, because I feel like I know I have a support system in my own family, but no, I appreciate y'all. I want to leave you on a funny story note. Just recently, my wife was going to the garage and she found this big, huge box that has all my Coast Guard stuff. I got out in 03, so that stuff has been packed in there since 03, and I haven't looked through any of it. And so she's like, "Oh, I found all this Coast Guard stuff." I'm like, "Oh, that's great." So we start pulling it out. And there's my old Coast Guard cover that I wore. And I actually, I remember now, I wore that on 9/11 and during that time, and I still remember like, oh, this might be significant for my history, like my life. Like I'll throw it, right? And I was like, this is cool. I have not seen this since 2003. Old Coast Guard, U.S. Coast Guard, Station San Francisco. I did this. I look under the bill right here. I blow goats in like all caps. I was like an E3 back at the Coast Guard station, so you know, one guy's like, yeah, right. I was like, oh great, like it is some huge memorable thing for me, you know. I wore this and I look, I'm like, oh god. I can't remember who did it, who wrote that, but I know I'm gonna get a kick out of that because we're mostly playing games with each other when we're screwing each other when we're not, you know. But yeah, thanks again to all of you. I really appreciate y'all, and I look forward to continue to go alongside your work, and be alongside you at these events and other events. And yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Seth. Thank you.
Thank you.
Aaron. Yeah.
Need some more dominoes.
Yeah.